Alright, welcome back. Let's jump straight into it. We're gonna start adding some details. Let's start with a belt hanging with a wrench thing. Okay, you know the drill by now. Classic strap, just extruding, make it fit the form. Use the picture as reference. It really doesn't get much simpler than this. Let's go under the flap so we add some depth and also connect the flap to the rest of the jacket so that it's not hanging, so that when it prints we don't get a fail or it doesn't snap off when we clean it or paint it. Okay, so make the end of the belt a little bit smaller so it looks like a real belt. Now do the back side and connect it to the belt over the jacket. Alright. Now Max has a lot of accessories, so today's video might be a little bit longer, but all these little accessories is what breathes life into the design and makes it look cool. So we're gonna make every single one of them, and it's gonna be awesome. Okay, so now that we made the belt, let's make the carabiner that holds the wrench. So I'm thinking, let's flatten this out, make it look a little bit more like a belt, like a real belt. Probably use the crease too, to make it like it bends a little bit in the middle as it's being stretched. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, let's make the carabiner now. Let's go with the cylinder. What the hell? Yeah, I shit on the cylinder the last time. Let's try it. Okay, so we start from the base and work our way up. Just extrude, rotate, get the basic shape. Pretty simple, smooth triangle essentially. Now once we get here, let's make the cutout where the movable piece of metal goes into. There we go. Make the same from the downside. And here we need the rotation cylinder. So we're gonna make the edge and then extrude this part and make it bigger again, extrude again. There we go. So this is the part that would move to open up the carabiner so we can use it. Just make it look, it's not gonna show, it's like this part of the detail is so small it's not gonna show no matter how big you print the thing, unless you print it like in life size, which you're not gonna print. So yeah, just make it look okay-ish. Now here with the subdivision we're gonna add the little loop cuts with Control R so that the edges are a bit more edgy. Okay, yeah, this looks okay. There we go. Pretty good. That's a good carabiner, don't you think? Put it in place, and then we start working on the wrench. The French key that's hanging over there. Yeah, let's add some detail, sure. This always works. Smooth it out. And it looks great. Okay, wrench time. Enough with the cylinders, back to the cube. So, let's make a little indent in the middle, because that's how these wrenches are. They have this bevel in the middle. And now select one side and extrude it upwards to form the handle, and make it smaller on top where it becomes rounded. The faces extrude. Now we need this to be wider and thicker, so we're gonna make it a bigger size on both the Y and the X axis. There we go, so it has a bit of a of depth. Okay, now let's figure out how the teeth would come out. Yeah, probably let's extrude this. Okay, so let's make now the left tooth. There we go. Nice. Just make it a little bit more rounded so that it looks good. Alright, now we got something. Probably a little bit longer too. Yeah, let's make the whole thing just a little bit longer once we get the shape right. Yeah, it's about right. Okay, let's make the other side slightly smaller but basically identical. Okay, just rotate it, add more loop cuts, make it more rounded. Wait. Yeah, it's pretty much what we wanted. So let's make it a little bit longer. That looks better. Okay, so now we want to add the little cylinder thing that controls the opening of the claw. So just put the cylinder in there, make sure it's larger than the wrench so that you can see it, and we're gonna make the wrench a little bit thinner in the middle so that the cylinder looks like it actually is inside the wrench, fixed inside the wrench. So let's just make this more, with extruding the lines so that it looks like it looks in the real thing. If you have a French key, you know. If you don't, just look at this. This is a French key. And let's push this in. Nice. Yep, that looks pretty good. Let's bevel and subdivide the whole thing and it's going to look perfect. Great. Alright. I think this is very serviceable. Let's just add one little hole on top. We're going to use a cylinder. We're going to use the Boolean modifier on the wrench and select the cylinder so that it removes the geometry where the cylinder was. And there you go. There's the wrench done. Just make it appropriate scale. Have the hole fit on the carabiner. And just make sure it fits on the actual model and that it's not hanging a lot so that when it prints you don't get any fails, because then it's all wasted. Okay, let's barely touch the pants, but it's connected to the whole thing, it's not overhanging. This looks good. So what's next? Let's make some binoculars. Cylinder again, I know. Okay, so let's make the front part, which is a little bit larger than the middle part. Extrude inside. Let's make the main body where the connector is connecting the two binoculars. Make the back lens. Extrude inside. This looks about right. We might need to modify it a little bit in a second, but yeah, it's okay. Let's just make this one a little bit bigger. Yeah, okay. I think this looks okay. Now let's use a cube for the connector in the middle. Make sure it's in the middle. Connect it to both places. Do a double loop cut. We're going to use these sides and extrude them outwards, and now we're going to add loop cuts and basically take the edges and drag them up and down respectively so that the whole handle thing looks rounded and better. Okay, and with a bevel and subdivision is going to look perfect. So again, we're going to need to add some sort of a wheel that for the depth of field. So we add another cylinder in the middle, make it smaller right there in the middle. Perfect. Extrude the sides outwards so that it is where it's connected. Add some loop cuts, extrude lines again, not like this, select the faces and extrude them. Nice. Okay, so there we have it. That's the selector, depth of field selector. And now we just add the bevel. I think we're done. Maybe make this a little bit just wider. Just a little bit, only a little bit, and round it out. Yeah, okay, this looks good. Bevel, subdivide, you know it. Apply, smooth it out with a brush. Okay. Right. Good. Do the same thing on the actual binocular. Great. There we go. Connect all the pieces to the center one and size it and position it again. Now this probably needs a carabiner too to be attached to the belt. So once we get the position right, we're gonna duplicate the carabiner from the wrench and put it into position. This looks about right. So we get the carabiner, and yeah, it probably shouldn't connect straight on the binoculars. Yeah, maybe the binoculars need a little loop that the carabiner holds onto. So let's put the carabiner on the belt, and we're gonna duplicate it and make it a little bit smaller and have it be like a hook on the actual binocular frame that holds on the carabiner. And now we just need to modify the belt so that it looks realistic as the carabiner is attached to it. I've said carabiner way too many times and now it doesn't make sense. Okay, so let's just let's just make it more realistic, like it's interacting with the jacket. This is always, you always should do this, like any item you add on a character, make sure it interacts with the clothing. Okay, so now let's make the holster for the shotgun. This should be straightforward, just a cube, extruded about the length of where the shotgun looks like it should be, about the knee height, and make a loop, make an extrusion inside so that there's a hole where the shotgun goes. Let's make a loop cut in the middle of this and now extrude this part and extrude the top part so that it's like the flap that holds, that attaches to the belt. Because that's how it is in the movie. Okay, so make it look like it hooks over the belt. Doesn't need to do it, just as long as it looks like it, we're good. Okay, so just make it more rounded a little bit. And yeah, that's pretty good. Let's add some loop cuts and make it a bit wider. No, let's rotate it first. Okay. Yeah, that fits better. We can fiddle with the hand later, but right now it looks okay. Just make it a bit rounder and more like it's not a square. There we go. Okay. Let's fiddle with the hand, make sure it doesn't go inside and it's over the actual holster. Cool. Well, bevel, subdivision, you know, I don't think I even need to say it anymore. That's what we always do. Okay, just smooth it out, make it look like an actual leather holster that is hanging. We don't want sharp edges, so just strong smooth brush and go over the whole thing, and it's starting to look more like an actual leather thing. All right, make sure it doesn't clip into anything, and I think we're good. Now we're going to duplicate the belt and have it as a strap for the actual holster. When you can duplicate something and use it, just do it. don't make it again. You're gonna make it almost identical and you're gonna waste a lot of time. So unless the thing is completely different, I recommend reusing assets wherever you can. It's gonna save you so much time, so much hassle, and you're not gonna feel the exhaustion of having to make something from the beginning every single time, even though it's similar to the other thing you made. So right now we have a belt with a belt buckle, so we just use it and just put it into place with a move modifier, and probably make it a little bit thicker with the what's it called, the blob brush. So once we put it in place, I'm going to use the blob brush or the inflate brush. Just make the geometry overall bigger so that when it prints it actually holds up and doesn't break. So yeah, make it look like it's actually wrapped around the leg and holds the holster. This looks good. Now we just need to make it a little bit smoother and thicker. And boom, you have a belt. Another strap. And when you print the model, it's going to be different size too, so it's not even going to look like you copy pasted it. After all, belts look alike. Okay, so here with a blob, just making it overall bigger. Great. Let's move to the shotgun. Classic double-barreled sawed-off shotgun. Reminds me of Modern Warfare 2. Good times. Okay, so just put the picture in front, at the back, toggle X-ray, and start extruding to fit the image. Doesn't get much simpler than this. This is the easiest way to make any object. If you have a nice flat side photo of it, pretty much all the work is done. You just fit the frame and we're good. So let's just keep on doing this on all the parts, the handle and the barrels, and I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, and with the shotgun ready, let's put it into place. Join everything so that it's one piece, and let's scale it and put it inside the holster. Now it's okay if it's clipping outside, just put it where it should be, and then we're gonna fix the holster around it so that it hugs the shotgun properly. Just make sure it doesn't go inside Max's leg, because that shouldn't happen. And all the parts are actually inside the holster now that we're making it. Like this, see, the barrel was clipped. Fix that, fix everything, make a little indentation as the leather would be stretched with a thicker base of the shotgun. Just overall make it look like something is actually in there and is held with gravity and friction. That way it looks more realistic. Adjust the belt when needed, and shotgun is completed. Let's just make the hand a little bit better at holding the thing. And yeah, just this finger needs the ring finger, a little bit movement. There we go. Okay, yeah, this looks serviceable. Pretty good. The fingers are a little bit thin. We might need to enlarge them, but we'll do that later. That's not important right now. So, let's make the arm have more detail. and actually look like an arm instead of a noodle. So we're gonna add like some creases and then smooth them out. It's not like Mel Gibson was ripped. So we need definition for the muscles, but not like his like 5% body fat. So we're gonna make the indentations, and then we're gonna smooth it out, not totally so that it disappears, just barely, so that it looks like a real hand, real arm. Now the wrist is a little bit tricky because I make the hands and heads a little bit bigger, because when you print them at smaller scale, the heroic scale tends to look better. So hands and heads are a little bit larger, disproportional to real life. So that makes the wrist a little bit tricky to get right. But let's try and make it look as good as possible. And don't stress about it too much. When you print it, it's not gonna show. It's gonna be much smaller, so everything's gonna look better. But when it's like big and in your face, you just have the urge to make it look as good as possible, and you should make it as good as possible. Just don't stress about minute details. Like, it's fine. It'll look okay. This looks fine. Okay, so a little bit thicker fingers, like I said, and he looks pretty good. Yep, moving along greatly. What now? Let's add detail to the trousers. Make the leather look more wrinkly. So like with the jacket before, I'm gonna add more wrinkles and creases, and I'll be back with you in a minute. And with that done, let's start working on the brace on the leg. So we start with the knee pad. Looks like squared, rhomboid kind of shape. Just make it more rounded, like it hugs the knee. And start adding some detail. As I can see, there are some lines extruding out, so let's extrude those lines, make them smaller, then extrude the other lines, make them smaller, put them symmetrically, and once we bevel and subdivide, this is going to look pretty good. Yeah, okay, I think it looks like the actual thing. Some smooth modifier for the edges, make it look like it's actually a pad and not a brick. Rotate it slightly, put it into place, and yeah, knee pad is ready. Let's make the metal arms for the brace. So let's start with the straps that go around the front of the leg. I believe these are metal. I'm not sure what material this is, but they go up until the middle, and then they have straps on the back. So, classic. There we go, hug the leg properly. Now that we have this, we just duplicate it for the upper parts. And bevel, subdivide. Easy as pie. Get rid of any unwanted hard edges. We're gonna assume that this is like some hard leather coating a metal part, probably. So I'm gonna make it like this, no edges and slightly indented in the middle as the leather is wrapped around it. Okay, now size this appropriately for the thigh. It needs to be a little bit wider, but don't go behind the foot, the leg. It should stop in the middle point. Add one more for the upper thigh. Probably need to make it a little bit wider. Just adjusting it so that it looks right. Okay, I think this gets the job done. Once we add the rest of the things, it's gonna look even better. There we go. Okay. Time for the metal arms. So these are gonna be simple. Just don't make them too thin, because they might not print. And yeah, just put them in place, select the down face, and just extrude it to cover the whole leg. As it is in the picture behind, there are some curves to fit the form of the leg whilst being straight overall. So we just work around that. There's a connector in the knee pad, so that's where it stops. We're going to duplicate this part on the other side. We're not going to mirror it because it seems like it's that way due to how thighs are made. So we're going to duplicate it again, put it like this where it connects with the upper piece. Probably need to rotate it a little bit. Okay. No, make it straight. Something's a bit off. Let's make the whole thing and we'll adjust it. Okay, make the other side. Dissolve these faces so that we can extrude them again better. Now this should be on the inside as the knee goes further in the thigh. Extrude it downwards under the boot where it will connect with the other piece. Okay, so let's adjust it. This one looks wrong. Let's put it from the inside. Maybe this one needs to be mirrored. Or let's make this extrude even more. Yeah, that looks way better. Okay, we're almost done. We're gonna add, again, duplicate the belt to use as the straps. No reason to make a whole other belt that looks the same. Don't waste your time. Just duplicate and reuse what you have. So we're gonna do this here and duplicate it above again. Remember, adjust it to fit the physique properly, and then thicken it out with the blob brush so that it prints nicely without fails, and it's not easy to break when you remove the supports or where you're painting it. So there we go, belts are done. Now let's make sure that the metal braces have more detail. So we're going to add some cylinders for the hinges and the connectors. So let's do that. Cylinders, rotate 9 degrees, make them smaller, put them there, maybe extrude one face outwards and make it smaller. There we go, and there you go. That's all it is. Cylinders are good for this kind of stuff, but pretty much terrible for everything else. So there we go. Now let's make this piece go under the boot and connect to the other side. So we're gonna need this to reach the other side. Then we're gonna add one more piece that goes over it and connects there. We're gonna add another little hinge, and I think that the leg connector is finished. We just bevel subdivide. Maybe I should come up with a name for this process. We say it a lot. I don't want to say bevel subdivide 1,500,000 times. I'll think of a name. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Let's zoom out a little bit. I think the knee pad needs to like stretch a little bit more to touch the metal parts. Nice. Okay, I would call this completed. Yeah, this looks fine. Now let's add detail to the leather underneath. Classic thing, where it should be pressed, crease, where it folds and creates edges. use the pinch modifier, and yeah, I'll be back in a second. And finally, the last accessory, the little cutters, snippers, I think they're called snippers, that he has on his boot there. You know, to cut wire and open tin cans or whatever you do with this type of tool. So we're gonna make one side, since it's like a scissor type thing. I'm gonna make one side, duplicate it, rotate it 100 degrees, and just put one on top of the other, and you have a scissor thing. Let's make it a bit wider for where the cutting bit would be. That looks okay. So now we just duplicate it, rotate it, and there you go. That's pretty much it. We're gonna add a cylinder in the middle so that it looks better. But yeah, you don't need to go into extreme detail for these things. Even if it was for a video game, the texture is gonna cover the detail. You just make the shape. Don't overstress it. Just make it look okay, and then you'll be good. Make it a little bit more beveled and slim. Join everything in the middle part and place it on the boot. Now I'm not sure if it's inside the boot or if it's like a wrap around the boot that's holding it. I'm gonna put a wrap around the boot so that it has more stuff, more detail. I can't really tell from the picture. So let's add a cube. Let's add a cube, make it fit around the boot, and we're gonna make it like it's a bandage thing or a cloth wrapped around the boot, holding the snippers in. So just put it in place, extrude, or just drag it. Okay, and bevel subdivide, smooth it out, add some wrinkles to make it look like actual cloth, get rid of the hard edges, and I think this is pretty much completed as well. And it should be the last accessory for Max. So all that's left now is the face and the hair, and Max is completed. So once we're done with this cloth thing, I think we're gonna wrap this tutorial up, and the next part is gonna be the last part. Probably everything's gonna be completed. Max will be ready to print, and we will have a nice little showcase with the car once he's ready and painted. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and join me in the next one. Bye.